Hi, Marcus here from POS Software. I'm just helping a customer with an upgrade to version 18.4. So good time to record the session and then you can see exactly the steps. The customer is running version 18.1 odd, but the rules apply the same whether you're running a version 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, any number up to 18.4. The effectively up to 18.2 was a system, or our POS system at the time used a Microsoft Access database. I just want to show you quickly what the files look like. So in their POS server folder, they were running databases, which is typical Microsoft Access, as you can see over there. The new system uses a SQL database, so it's important to download the new installer and run the new installer rather than just doing an upgrade itself. Alright. The importance of the SQL is obviously that the SQL is a more stable database. When we started developing POS back in 2002, SQL wasn't that highly rated and it was expensive. You had to buy licenses, all sorts of things. So at the time we decided just to stick with the Access. Now, many years later, it's obviously important for us to get up to date. So on the system, to run the SQL database, you need a Windows 7 Service Pack 1 or better. And as you can see in the background here, the Windows 7 Home Premium is what the customer has on their computer at the moment. So it was important just to run the update. You typically will just do that from the control panel, select the update. I've done that already, and as you can see in the foreground, it's busy installing the updates. It might take quite a time. You might need more data on your data card if you do not have LTE, fiber, ADSL, whatever connection you have. This is a paid service, so important that you understand that if it all goes well, in other words, you download the software, you run it, you install it, and you don't have any problems, then it's free of charge. In other words, the upgrade from POS is free. Not our time to do it for you. What I've also done in the background is I've downloaded the CD POS from our website. As you can see over there, it's 418 odd meg. It's available on our website under POS.co.za/support, under installations. The whole install files is there, and as you can see, files anywhere, the link will open up something like that, and you'll simply just click on the download option over there. So I'm going to let the update run through, watch it for a while. Sometimes this takes quite a long time. Be patient with it. Don't rush it. Don't say, but you know, it's started hanging and all the rest of it. If it goes through, the installation for POS will work. If it doesn't go through, you will most likely find all sorts of problems and errors on your POS system, in the sense that the SQL would not be implemented and so on. So I'll let the updates go through and I'll carry on with the video just now. Hi there. A couple of hours later, it's 9:34 p.m. in the evening already, and finally we've got a Windows 7 Service Pack running. Service Pack 1 running. Let me just double check and show you. So under Windows 7, or under the system now, you can see it's running Windows 7 Home Premium Service Pack 1. Now, if I had to try and force the issue and not check and go through the process, what would have happened is that the system would have installed everything but SQL, the SQL drivers and the installers and so on, because it just simply cannot run on anything less than Windows 7 Service Pack 1, obviously not on XP as well. So it would just have crashed. It would give you lots of other errors, and most likely would have emailed us and said, well, you know, I've done the suggested upgrades now, reinstalled it and so on, and I've got problems. Well, the reason you have problems is because you didn't check the basics. Alright, so that's the basics all done. So now I'm going to simply double click on my CD POS that we downloaded earlier. I'm sure you remember, it was not 4 hours or so for you. Alright, and simply just leave it on CD POS over there and simply click on install, and you've got to sit back and relax while it's extracting the files. It's extracting the files to that CD POS folder, as you saw. Important that it's all there, because the whole installer and everything else has been written to work from there and know what the next step is, etc., etc. Almost done. Lots of new functionalities. The last couple of pictures you would have seen there would have been for the barcodes and so on. We've also fixed up the barcode printing, made it easier and better design and 4POS for you. Alright, so it then pop up 4POS setup prerequisite wizard, the same as what you would do a normal installation if you watched that video before. Obviously this is the main installation of main computer. This is where the database is stored, so I'm going to just select 4POS installation for the main computer. Now important that on the system at the moment it's still got the old version of 4POS in, so the system will do all of that work for you. So just again click on it and make sure that it runs. Okay, it's telling me that there's still some programs open, other PCs connected or something. Let's just go and check, and that typically would be that the pricing of the Waitron file is in use. Sorry, I want to get back to Windows Explorer, 4POS server folder, and I'm looking for the pricing file. I'm looking specifically for pricing log file. As you can see, there's a LDB file. I'm just going to try and manually delete it, and it allowed me to. And there's also a Waitron log file, so I'm going to delete that as well, and that's also good. Okay, so now the installer said please close all programs. I said okay. Alright, and there's a Waitron file once again being created, which tells me that they're running it off a second terminal. This is a pub, so let's see if we can get the conversion done at least, then they can take it from there. So I'm going to go back to my 4POS support folder, back to the CD 4POS, and run it. I'm going to run the installer again. I could have gone to the CD 4POS folder and run the 4POS installer from there. It's just safer to do it the long way around. Okay, so the system is now carrying on. In other words, it skipped the fact that the Waitron file is open on the second computer. In the background there you can see clearly that it's got a Waitron LDB file, which is a log file, which tells me that the touchscreen is running on the second computer. Be that as it may, it's now installing the SQL components for the system, for 4POS that it requires. Okay, so that Windows SQL part took quite a while, not quite sure how long, but it does take long, and it does say so on the screen, so literally just leave it. It will do what it needs to do. The system will pop up once again just with the regional settings, just to confirm that you've set it up properly. And again, even though you have done it in the past, just go through that, double check your settings. In the background you'll see that the Access database engine is being installed. I'm just going to double check that everything is okay. Yes, I've got commas, I've got full stop, decimal point, and my currencies. It all looks good. I can click OK there. It's all fine. System is prompting me to reboot, and it seems to have gone into a reboot option. Alright, we're carrying on with the process. I logged back into the customer's computer and saw that in the 4POS server folder that they had, there was no SQL data folder. Now that's critical, because that's where the database is sitting. So I reinstalled 4POS, basically renamed the 4POS server and 4POS folders to 28, as you can see, the 28th of April, and then reinstalled the 4POS from the CD 4POS folder. In other words, I basically just ran the 4POS installer over there, not the full installer, just the 4POS part of it. In other words, not the SQL, etc., etc. And obviously that's important that you go and, before you do that, just go and double check that in your controller under programs it's actually showing the program or the SQL programs installed. So let's just go and double check that so I can show you what that is all about. And just make this bigger so it's easier to browse. And as you can see over there, there's the SQL server installed. Everything is fine. So theoretically there shouldn't have been a problem, but there was. Okay, and I think that's the important part. And A lot of customers get all upset if we say, but we need to charge for our time to do this part. This is why, because it's not perfect. Okay, sometimes it works without a problem, sometimes it does create a problem. Alright, so I reinstalled the 4POS folder. As you can see there, I've got my SQL data running over there. Furthermore, I double checked that under the support folder, part of the installation, what it does, it copies your old MDB files, again, irrespective of what version they are, to a folder called support MDB. So if you were a customer that said, no, but I'm installing on a new computer, you can do this manually. You can install 4POS on the new computer fully. Make sure that the SQL data is there, all the rest of it. Then go and create a folder called support MDB, and then copy all your files in there. Okay, all your MDB files. Effectively, you only need the month files, the pricing, and the Waitron. So those are the critical ones. Don't ignore the month files, please. All the duplicates that you might have and pricing files that have been compacted and repaired over time, obviously they're not required, and you might as well not copy them. Alright, so getting back to the point now, okay, so 4POS is installed here now. It looks all fine and perfect to me. I would expect the back office program to now do the conversion from the old to the new. So I'm just going to open up my back office program again, and then I would expect the optimization, as you can see, is running through. And then furthermore, what it will do is it will start converting all of these files. Okay. Now you can see it's jumping up and down on the screen there. That's basically fixing up any conversion parts in the file. It actually goes through the MDB files, fixes them in terms of passwords that might have been hidden in them. It fixes the layouts, etc., etc. Now, in one of the other videos, you might see that we did a conversion for a customer that's been running for 12 years odd. And this customer had obviously being such an old installation, had certain fields that were not in the month files. For instance, the laybys were something that were never part of the system 12 years ago. So it's logical that there would be problems, there would be issues, there would be something that we did not consider, did not cater for, etc., etc. And part of the payment that you would do for support is for us to go through and bring that through, give it to the developers, and let them see what is in your database that's just different. We often find in the system that it will bring up duplicates in terms of sales records. Now those are typical corrupted records. In other words, in your sale table you'll get a duplicate record. But if you then do a compact and repair on that file, you actually see it either disappears or that it is not a valid record. Now the old MDB might have allowed for duplicate records, but the SQL does not. Otherwise it will create conflict. In the front of the screen now you can see the conversion running through. The pricing file is basically completed. It's now tackling the Waitron file, which is where your touchscreen buttons and everything else is stored. This is for a pub that I'm installing, so that's obviously critical. So it needs to go through all of that part of it, and then it will start doing the month files. Important that you, as I say, understand that this is a major process. This is a major upgrade. Now you might say, yeah, but what do I need to pay? Well, again, let's look at the alternative. What is the alternative for other customers or other point-of-sale companies? Other point-of-sale companies just don't allow this type of thing. They basically tell you to uninstall, reinstall, and carry on. Okay. We don't. We ask and we understand that you want to bring your data across, you want to bring your history across, all the rest of it. And if you then have to pay a TeamViewer support fee when it happens, surely that's not out of the ordinary. Again, like I often get into argument and discussion, for want of a better word, with some customers. I do not take my car to the mechanic and expect of him to do it for free. Okay. I just want to check here. There seems to be another message over here. Okay, so yeah, this is a typical example. It says there's an error occurred on importing the database. An error log has been created. Okay, so if you then click OK on that, and it's good that we get these errors, because this shows you why you need specialist technical support to be able to help you with that. Alright, so it's telling me that these are all the tables and stuff, processing Waitron. This is where we left it off. And now it's looking for a Waitron linked server. It does not contain the table catalog. So there's a table in the database that is missing. Okay, so and that's where the problem is. Okay, so now we need to go offline again, go and try and find out what is there wrong with that Waitron file and fix it accordingly. Alright, so I'm going to pause the video again, once again try and fix it and rerun the conversion and see what it does. Alright, so we're carrying on with the conversion. I've now pulled the Waitron file across to my computer, had a look at it, fixed the problem, did whatever needed to be done. Ran the 4POS back office again to carry on with the conversion, and as you can see, the conversion is now completed with the Waitron file, and also done the 1 month file that they had and fixed it all in there. So theoretically we should be all up and running. So I'm just going to simply close this now. You'll see that it brings up a little screen at the bottom. Sometimes it's hidden away because you've clicked somewhere that says please open back office. You simply click on OK. What it will do is it will take all the MDB files and put it into a folder called Process DBS, telling you that those are the files that has been processed. So it doesn't delete them or anything like that. They're still there. You can access them if you need to, or need to redo the whole process again. Once the process is done, very important to obviously do a backup. The system will now create a new data source. So the new data source will be SQL connection rather than an MDB connection for the technical guys. And once again, opening our back office. So long and the short of it is yes, it's a process. Okay, it's a very important process. 4POS is now only developing on this version, 18.4 and further. We're already sitting at 18.5 on the development systems, and the reason for that is that we keep on fixing things on the software every day, adding improvements on it and so on. There's new loyalty systems that will be coming in soon. As you can see, the conversion has gone through. The database has already been licensed. In other words, it's got all the licensing and part of it. And the store setup and security, you'll see that my point of sales are still added on the system. In other words, I can still see my server, my bar machine, so that's all fine. If I look at my day ends and I go and look at day end reports, I should be able to see all my information there. Alright, for the current month, everything seems fine. Okay, let's just go back there again. Something that you'll see that the customer is not done month ends. Okay, so they haven't done a month end since February. So that's why there's only 1 month file. Okay, it's not like they've only been using the system for a month. It's they just haven't done the month ends. So we'll advise the customer to do month ends as well, just to keep the database nice and small and compact. Just on a typical size kind of thing, let's go and have a look at the SQL data. The database obviously for SQL is much smaller. And that was one of the main concerns, is that we have customers that does very, very big turnovers, 2 million a day plus, and they would then land up having databases on access situation that will get too big within a couple of days, typical 3-4 days. Then they have to do a compact and repair. Now at the end of the day, it means they can't really run their business. They've got to keep an eye on this database size and keep on compacting and repairing. We'll be converting a customer next week that's doing those kind of numbers, and so you will never have to do that again. The MySQL server system or SQL database system that we have now, we've estimated that will give us in the region of 14-15 years worth of growth without having to touch anything on the system, on the database again. So this will be the latest and best solution. Alright, so just to test the whole process, I'm going to do an update point of sale now, update all. Then I'll open up my domain controller, and then I'll also show you how the terminal now looks. In other words, what configuration to do on the terminal. you obviously need to install the new 4POS version on the terminal as well, because remember now it's got a link to this SQL database. And again, if it's a little bit technical for you, even for technicians, please understand that it doesn't help us phoning us and say, all right, I've done the conversion and I now have errors and I have problems. As you could see here, this is a process. I started this 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. It's 10:36 the next morning. I'm still busy with it. And the customer paid for one TeamViewer support for 800 Rand. My goodness. Now, if that's not worth your while, I suppose, some customers unfortunately will never be happy. And we can't really cater for that. Alright, so opening up the touchscreen program and typing in the password, checking a point of sale. I just want to make sure that the buttons and everything else are there. In other words, the touchscreen layout is the way it's supposed to be and was what the customer was using before. Alright, so clicking on cash sale, yes, and all my buttons are back there by the looks of it. I've got my whiskies, cigarettes, shooters, white spirits, everything seems fine. Okay, good. So we're already on the server computer. This is the server machine. I'm going to just jump over to the bar PC, in other words the second computer, and let me just cancel that quickly and show you. So on the bar PC, I've also installed the new CD 4POS. I basically copied it from the server. In other words, you don't have to download it a second time. So I just copied it from the server and ran it there. The important part on this one is obviously you will specify that it's the second terminal. It's not the server. So therefore, once it's installed, you'll see that on the C drive, there is no 4POS server folder. Okay, that is old folders that was there. It's not the real thing. Okay, it's not a 4POS server. Bear in mind, this is computers. Server 2 is not equal to server. All right, and let's go and open up the back office program. Again, important to do that because we need to now tell the computer or tell 4POS then where the database is. Okay, so I'm going to go down to my network, or the customer's network, shall I say. And on the customer's network, I where's the server PC now? It was there just now. For some reason it's not picking it up. I know that the customer's computer is called server, so let me just do that part of it. Alright, and now it's picking it up there. Good. Sometimes Windows networks play around, so you need to do all of those type of things. And I'm going to double click on the 4POS server folder, and there's the database configuration file, as you can see. Often customers do the conversion and then they say, well, it's asking for the configuration file. Well, what you've actually done is you installed it on your main computer, but you didn't specify that it's the server, so there's no database. Okay, and you might have even done an upgrade, in other words, but not specified. It's not do the installation, I mean. Okay, so again, technical. The purpose of these videos is to make sure that everybody can use the new 4POS system and can upgrade. Again, if you struggle, it's not a money-making scheme, please. As I said to one of the customers, let's just think about it. How's there any logic in spending 2 million or more on development and then charging 800 Rand for a TeamViewer session? It doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it makes sense to somebody else. So the purpose is really not to make money out of the upgrade. The purpose is just to pay for the staff and the technician's time to do that. Okay, so I'm just logging into the back office again. Remember now, this is the second PC, the terminal, the bar PC, so I'm double checking that my path is correct. In other words, pointing to that. And again, for the technicians that might be new, please do not just go and put a link in straight to 4POS server. It must say / / server /c / 4POS server. It's what they call the Universal Naming Convention, UNC. There's no shortcuts here. Okay, the new version of 4POS will not ask for backups on the second terminal, so I'm going to ignore that simply because the database is sitting on the server, not on this machine. And then finally I'm done, I think. Let's just go and check. I'm opening up 4POS Touch on this computer, and yes, it asked me for a password. It's not creating any errors or problems, and I'm just going to make sure that I can actually do a sale. Sorry, it seems like there's a little bit of a delay on the internet, so when I click it doesn't necessarily respond. Alright, so let's go and click on cash sale, and buttons are all there. So let me just go and ring up something. Always easier just to go and ring up a soft drink, argument's sake an apple ties and a bitters. Alright, I'm going to go cash out table and say they paid 50 Rand cash. I'll do a void refund just now. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want to just make sure that the transaction goes through the domain controller on the server computer. So on the server part of it, I haven't checked if my domain controller comes up. Yes, both of your machines are showing nicely. It shows active and connected icons, which means that it's working correctly. I'm going to go into the back office program. Just say go to today, load reports. You'll find that there is definitely a speed improvement on the system. We're still going to do some more work on the speed performances wise to even get it better. And again, bear in mind that it depends on your computer. If you have a slow computer with only 2 gig of RAM, seriously, technicians, please don't do this. You honestly to say, you're stealing customers' money. Nobody can use 2 gig RAM on PCs anymore. So please don't skimp on a couple of $100 worth of memory chips. Put 4 gig in at least if it's a 32-bit operating system, if it's a 64-bit. Please, put in 8 gig or more. The little bit of money that you're spending on RAM just makes a whole world of difference. I had a customer that upgraded to a new computer this week, and yes, it was expensive. And a day later, she WhatsApped and said that, what a pleasure. Yes, it is a pleasure. It is nice to work on a PC that actually works. I mean, it's a tool if it doesn't work. All right, so let's have a look at it. Yes, there's my transactions coming from the bar PC, etc., etc. It's all fine. The information is there, so I can go back to my bar PC and I can go and do a revoke now on those items. Sorry, I wanted to go back to soft drinks. I want to revoke an apple cider and sorry, not a revoke, a reversal. So let me just revoke that line quickly. Apologize. Do a reversal on the apple cider and do a reversal on the bitters. Okay, and cash out that as well. That's the credit part of that same transaction I did earlier. Alright, and we're up and running. My customer can now carry on trading on a Saturday. Nice long weekend. Hopefully they'll make a good amount of money. The little bit of money that they paid for the support surely would be made up in a couple of hours of work, and most likely in the first hour if they operate a good business. Okay, just lastly, I was double checking here on the back office that those voids have come through now. Again, excuse the internet on the customer side. We are running fiber, so it's obviously makes a lot of difference on our side. It's sometimes frustrating when we're used to speed on our side of the internet and the customer's PCs are extremely slow. That's also part of the reason why it took so long. I mean, some of the updates last night was taking an hour or two. Alright, so there's my reversals. I sold a 38 rands worth, and I did a void or a reversal of 38 rands. So we're all okay. Lastly, I'm just going to make sure that there's a backup. Do the backup and make sure that the backup goes through perfectly. And that's the conversion. So process, definitely guaranteed. It is a process. Worth it over and over. All the new functionalities will only be done on this version. We will not be developing anything more on the old version. Thank you for your time.